and welcome back to Mexico News Network's Breaking News. Broadcasting from El Dorado Royal Spa Resort by Charisma, a gorgeous, adults-only, gourmet-inclusive resort in the heart of Riviera Maya. Stay informed 24/7 by logging on to our website, www.mexiconewsnetwork.com. And don't forget to follow us on social networks on Facebook, Google+, and Twitter on Mexico News Network. Now let's continue with more information for today. After escaping the life she knew in Europe, she was presented with an opportunity to go to a brand new place, a new continent, a new country. This location was Mexico, Leonora Carrington's beloved, surreal world brought to life. Now at the British Tate Liverpool Art Gallery is exhibiting a selection of paintings, poetry, sculpture, and tapestry as a representation of the artist's life through art. Leonora Carrington was born on a wealthy British family but longed for a different kind of life. By the age of 20, she met Max Ernst, whom she ran off with. Years later, Ernst was imprisoned and Carrington escaped to Spain, where she found Renato Leduc, whom she met previously during an exhibition. They both escaped together to Mexico, which is where Carrington's art expanded and developed. The Leonora Carrington exhibition will be open at Tate Liverpool through May 31st of the present year. There is still enough time to visit the exhibit, which is part of the events of the dual year between Mexico and the United Kingdom, and appreciate Carrington's surrealist art, which is often characterized by its group of eccentric characters which could be human, objects, and plants. A British-born Mexican artist, Leonora Carrington said that art is a visual world. It is all about time and space where there is no need to try and intellectualize it, just feel it. Explore her visual world, her words, and her life at the Leonora Carrington exhibition, an artist who dedicated her life to the love of creation, as quoted on her estate's official website. Insects have been consumed by humans for many years, and Mexico is a country that offers a wide variety of edible insects. They provide a decent amount of protein as well as other nutrients. These are some of the most popular insects you can eat in Mexico. Number 1, crickets or grasshoppers. These fellows have been part of Mexican culinary traditions since pre-Columbian era. They are prepared in various ways, but can be found fried with salt and chili powder, bathed in salsa, as filling in tamales, or as tostada toppings. They can be found mostly in the southern states of Mexico. Number 2, maguey worms. Maybe you've already seen these inside tequila or mezcal bottles. These are extracted from the leaves of the agave plant and is actually a butterfly larvae, which is usually fried or toasted and then put on a tortilla with delicious guacamole. They can also be ground with tomato and pasilla chili to make a salsa. They'll be found in Oaxaca, Hidalgo, Tlaxcala, and the state of Mexico. Escamoles, known as the Mexican caviar. These little creatures are cooked with butter and herbs and served with tortillas as well as other types of preparations. They are quite difficult to collect, which is why their price can be so high. They can be enjoyed in Guanajuato, Tlaxcala, Hidalgo, Mexico City, and Michoacán. Jumiles. These are very small insects which are a little spicy and some even say have a hint of cinnamon. They can be eaten alive, roasted, or fried. They are so popular, there's even a temple dedicated to them in the city of Taxco, Guerrero. They can also be found in the state of Morelos. Beetles. Several types of beetles are consumed in Mexico, and the most popular one is cawis or chamois. This variety feeds on mesquite trees. These creatures must be perfectly cooked before consumption. If not, they can take a bit of a bitter taste. They can be found in many states all around the country. Flying ants. These ants usually come out of their anthills during rainy season, and people collect them to prepare salsa. However, they are also consumed in a variety of preparations such as soups, tamales, stew, or even tacos. They can be found in Mexico State, Oaxaca, Chiapas, and Guerrero. Last but not least, we have wasps. Some wasp species can be eaten and sometimes even consumed with even part of the hive, which also contains a little larvae. These are then roasted and have a somewhat sweet taste. These are found in the states of Guerrero, Michoacán, Veracruz, and Yucatán. We do know that most people conceive the idea of eating insects as something very unpleasant, but there must be something tasty about them given that so many people all around the world consume them. So why not give them a try? Let your adventurous palate taste something brand new and interesting as edible insects from Mexico. Whenever you go to any market in Mexico, you will see piles of grasshoppers dusted with chili powder, roasted with garlic, sprinkled with lime juice. I've personally eaten grasshoppers ground up in salsas and semi-pulverized in micheladas. Their intact legs floating around in the refreshing mix of beer, in fact, lime juice, and hot sauce. If you have ever been served chili-dusted orange slices along with a shot of mezcal, voila and surprise! That chili powder was in fact ground up grasshoppers. By now, you have probably heard that entomography, insect eating, is within our dietary future, or at least should be. Put aside the yuck factor, insects are in fact packed with protein, much less damaging to the environment than other livestock, and can be also be killed by humanly by popping them in the freezer. It is all so crazy it might just work. This is why the United Nations published a whole book back in the year 2013 promoting edible insects as a solution to global food insecurity. With Earth looking down the barrel of a population of 9 billion humans, all of them hungry for protein, it only makes sense to cultivate animals with 80% edible bodies, which is the case of crickets, instead of 40% edible bodies, which is the case of beef, and that do not require 10 pounds of feed to get 2 pounds of meat. This is the case of pigs. In theory, Mexico is more than just an idea. With its long-standing tradition of eating grasshoppers, which are chapulines in Spanish, Mexico would seem perfectly poised to enter the coming age of entomography. Ant eggs, which are escamoles, are another very popular dish among insect eating. However, there is one problem rising. Chapulines are quite expensive. They cost more than pork or chicken, and sometimes as much as beef or even shrimp. Far from being a distasteful last resort for people who do not have the money for meat, chapulines are an in-demand product more people wish they could even afford. The problem is not that bugs are rare, obviously. A recent study led by René Cerritos, a biologist at the National Autonomous University of Mexico, estimated that 350,000 tons of chapulines live on Mexican crops every single year. But harvesting them is disorganized, often illicit, and just plain difficult. Only a few hundreds of tons of chapulines are collected for food annually, and from only a couple of regions in Mexico. Chapulines can be quite affordable if you manage to buy them close to where they are harvested. Cerritos says that once middlemen get involved and the grasshoppers get shipped around the country, the price can as much as triple. Some chapulín operations maintain their own fields of alfalfa, which is the bug's favorite food. However, others fly completely under the radar, the catchers trespassing on whatever farms they can find. Chapulines are agricultural pests, so you would think farmers would be happy to get rid of them. But the clandestine hunt can damage crops and pack down the earth in carefully managed fields, breeding ill between farmers and chapulín catchers instead of cooperation. In Oaxaca, for example, chapulín catchers gather before dawn on a farm, often without the farmer's knowledge or permission, and run up and down the rows of crops, plucking chapulines from the plants one at a time. That is not an effective way to catch your lunch, let alone make an affordable product, says Gabe Mott, co-founder of the company Aspire, which is working to develop insect culinary products in Mexico, Ghana, and the US. Just like the UN, Aspire thinks entomography can help address hunger and poor nutrition all around the world. Back in the year 2013, the company won the HALT Prize, which is $1 million in startup money to social entrepreneurship projects. But before Aspire or any other company can turn these bugs into a feature, edible insects are going to have to get cheaper. Now there is a legend that on the ancient, long-forgotten roads of the Mayab, a beautiful woman roams, stalking travelers, waiting patiently for them under the ceiba tree. With her long dark hair, she seduces men and leads them to their graves. This is the legend of the Ixtabay. As many others, it begins in a peaceable Maya village where two sisters lived. One of them, Utzcolel, was considered by the villagers to be saintly, while the other, Xqueban, was believed to be sin made flesh. Xqueban, which is the Maya word for bad woman, was a despicable person to the townspeople. She used to play with men while her sister, Utzcolel, was virtuous and good. However, all that glitters is not always gold. Even though Utzcolel was considered to be pure and fair in truth, she had a cold heart, incapable of loving anyone. On the other hand, Xqueban was a kind person that used to care for the sick and help the homeless. After many days of not seeing Xqueban, villagers started to perceive a pleasant aroma coming from her house. When they looked inside, they found the body of Xqueban covered in beautiful flowers. Utzcolel, jealous of her sister, told everyone that when it was her turn to die, her body would have a sweeter smell than Xqueban's, because compared to her sister, she had never sinned. Because the town hated Xqueban, nobody went to her funeral. Only the animals and the homeless were beside her. From her grave grew a white and delicate flower known as Ixtabentún, a plant that is now used to make liquor sweet as her soul. Days later, Utzcolel died as well, but despite the fact that her body was surrounded by flowers, it emitted a terrible odor that withered almost everything around it except the Tascam cactus. Angry and resentful, she sought help from the evil spirits, and they returned her evil soul to this world. Since that time, everyone called her Ixtabay, the lady that seduces and kills any man who dares to travel at night through the Mayab roads. Beautiful story, don't you think? Now, this was all for today. Thank you so much for staying with us, broadcasting from El Dorado Royal Spa Resort by Charisma. I am your host, Elisa Carballo, and don't forget to keep informed 24/7 by staying and logging on to our website on www.mexiconewsnetwork.com, and also to follow us on social networks on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+ as Mexico News Network. We'll see you next time for more information.
Audio.